oh, my family doesn't understand me, and I'm adopted, so this isn't my real family, and I'm gonna be a king so daddy notices me. Hey geeks, welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine, and you're watching Daily Marvels, where I give a few thoughts on some of the Marvel news that went on in the past week. A few days ago, Stan Lee was rushed to the hospital, and the Thor Ragnarok cast have a lot to say about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it around so others can join in the conversation. A few days ago, Stan Lee was rushed to a hospital because he was having shortness of breath and an irregular heartbeat. The latest update says that he's feeling fine, that he stayed at the hospital for a day or so just for observation, just to make sure everything was okay. But for as far as we know, he seems okay. Stan Lee is 95 years old at this point, so anytime that I see an article or a video starting with the word Stan Lee, my heart kind of stops until I finish reading the article or I finish reading just the title of what the article is about to know that Stan Lee is okay. I'm knocking on wood. I hope nothing happens to him, but it's something that I am just usually pretty worried about. He was actually at the New Orleans Comic-Con this past year, and I kind of regret missing it because the big thing is I really wanted to go meet him. I was worried that I'm not going to have a lot of other chances to meet him. I really wanted to, but I couldn't do it this year. But like I said, he's 95 years old. It's definitely a concern that's on my mind a lot. It's a concern that's on a lot of people's minds. I really feel like his loss would be just a huge hit, especially to Marvel fans. Like, he really is the not to say that he's the only creative mind he was the only creative mind at Marvel. There are plenty other of artists and writers at Marvel around the same time that were also instrumental in creating the comics and the works that he created over the past 50, 100 years. But he really is just one of the biggest sources of creativity and ideas for a lot of the heroes that we love today, that we love seeing in movies today. So I'm always worried that pretty soon we're going to lose him. But knock on wood, he says he's feeling fine now, that he's just staying at the hospital for for observation, just from checkups, but for right now he says he's feeling fine. Recently, Chris Hemsworth was talking about what inspired the big change for Thor Ragnarok. As you could tell, Thor Ragnarok was a lot different than the previous Thor movies, which were a lot more like fantasy, kind of, Norse god family drama. They weren't bad, but they were just okay. But Thor Ragnarok just was able to fix everything wrong with the original Thor series and just knock it out of the park. And there's actually a specific reason that he felt so strongly to turn this film around. And that person is Kevin Smith. Hearing someone like Smith, who represents the fanboy world, was such a kick in the ass to change gears. We sort of had nothing to lose. People didn't expect what we did with it this time around. I thought maybe I might be in the first Avengers, but I never thought there'd be a second one. I didn't look that comfortable on my first 3 films. I gotta say, recently it felt more concrete. But before, it always felt like any minute it might all be pulled out from under me. So I just want to say thank you, Kevin Smith, for just being the catalyst to get Chris Hemsworth and the Thor production team and writing team, and obviously a new direction for the film and for that specific franchise, for just putting it in that direction. Because Thor Ragnarok, easily one of my top 3 Marvel movies. It was such a strong film, and it wasn't just all slapstick. Like, seeing the trailers, that's something that I was worried about, that this is just all going to be a slapstick comedy. It's going to course correct too much, and it's going to lose a lot of the drama that does surround Thor. But it did everything right. It had that really strong connection of Thor and his family, especially between Thor and Loki, who were essentially the stars of the film. And it was just so good to see them acting like brothers who have this long history of love and hate, that, they're always screwing with each other, but they're also always helping each other. So big thanks to Kevin Smith for being the catalyst to get Thor to go in that direction. I feel like Kevin Smith's word is a huge influence on superhero movies in general, especially with like Ben Affleck playing Batman. As Kevin Smith and Ben Affleck are pretty much friends. I'm pretty sure Kevin Smith was very adamant about Ben Affleck not screwing up Batman, and I think Ben Affleck did a good job of not screwing up Batman. The problems with this new Batman in the DC Extended Universe is not Ben Affleck's problems, it's the DC Extended Universe problems, but Ben Affleck is actually a pretty decent Batman, and I have to admit, I give a lot of credit of that to Kevin Smith making sure Ben Affleck gets it right. In a separate interview, Tom Hiddleston was actually talking about the potential future for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and his place in it. In an interview talking about the Infinity War trailer and just his experience with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he says, "It looks very impressive, doesn't it? It's very exciting. I found it quite, and this is an odd thing to say, I found it quite touching because I remember when I was cast as Loki for the very first time almost 10 years ago, and Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, called me into his office to say, 'Congratulations,' and one of the first things he said to me was, 'Let me talk to you about Avengers.' I thought I had just been cast in Thor." Tom Hiddleston was definitely the first really great villain for the MCU and has consecutively been a strong character in the MCU, just from Thor to Avengers, Thor 2, and then now Thor Ragnarok. And that was definitely one of the strongest points of Thor Ragnarok for me, is the character of Loki. As strong and good of a character as Tom Hiddleston's Loki is, he wasn't so much the god of mischief, but the god of brooding. He was always, oh, my family doesn't understand me, and I'm adopted, so this isn't my real family, and I'm gonna be a king so daddy notices me. And that's not a Loki I want to see. In Thor Ragnarok, where he was very comedic, he was very mischievous, he was actually the god of mischief, he was very egocentric, he was a fun and well-developed character in Thor Ragnarok. So, big shout out to Tom Hiddleston for able to be just, such a strong part of the MCU, continuing from phase 1 all the way to, we're coming to the end of phase 3 now. That he's remained that strong character, whereas pretty much all of the other villains of the Marvel Cinematic Universe have either been locked away and forgotten about or have died. But thankfully, we do have that strong kind of character in Tom Hiddleston's Loki. So I'm very excited to see what exactly his role in Infinity War is going to be. I know it's just from the trailer, it's apparent that he has the Tesseract. There was no doubt at the end of Thor Ragnarok when he passes the Tesseract in Odin's vault that he took it for himself. But I'm just curious as to what ends he's taking it for. Is he the one who gives it to Thanos? Does Thanos take it from him? Is he going to be on Thanos' side? We've heard rumors that he is going to be an ally of Thanos, but could there be some other motive? I don't think he'd be on Thor's side or Thanos' side. I think it'd be more obvious that he has some third ulterior motive, just like a neutral third party who's playing whatever strengths he can get to achieve his ultimate goals, whatever those goals may be at this point. Finally, Tessa Thompson was talking about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Tessa Thompson, who played Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok and one of my favorite new characters in Thor Ragnarok, she's talking about how the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe is all women. That in the start of the MCU, it was a very male hero centric story. But going further, we're getting a lot more women representation, like Black Widow, like Captain Marvel that's coming out in a couple years, like Black Panther that's coming out that's coming out next week, where they have the Wakandan warriors who, like a majority of them, are all women. And she praises this kind of shift for Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I can't agree with her more. I think it's so awesome that we're slowly but surely moving to that point where it's not just going to all be the same demographic of heroes, white men. It'll be a much more diverse cast, and I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million more. I can't say too many good things about having that kind of representation in media. So I absolutely agree with Tessa Thompson on this statement. I'm so glad to see the Marvel Cinematic Universe shifting to having a absolutely more diverse cast. What do you think about these daily Marvels? Let me know in the comments and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join the conversation. You can check out my written reviews of Marvel TV shows and movies at guillotinegeek.blogspot.com and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun.